welcome back to the show. On the show today, we have veteran Stefan Beardless. Stefan, thanks for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This is great. I love your backdrop. I love all the guitars. What a great backdrop. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You know how many guitars you need, right?
And how many do you have, Stefan? How many?
I don't know, but I know I need just one more.
When you say I don't know, that means you have a lot of guitars. That's great. That's great. We're gonna talk about music later because I know it's so integral in your life and moving forward as a veteran and helping veterans. But before we do that, again, we're here with Stefan Beardwood. Now, he is the founding member of Veterans House Charity. So, in a bird's eye view, can you tell us a little bit about what that is, Stefan, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. So what we saw was a need to fill a gap, and we thought we were going to do it all, only to find out that all we had to do was specialize in one thing and one thing only. So what we do is we help others succeed. And what we saw as a pattern was a lot of people wanting to start not-for-profits for peer support healing. We know how effective it is, but it's not really done very well, especially business end wise. And we just looked at the people that we were talking to, and we saw ourselves failing and we saw them failing. And so we decided to go back to the drawing board and rewrite our existence in order to help others to succeed. So essentially what we do is we help not-for-profits, particularly those who are focused on veterans' mental health, to succeed. Mm-hmm. We help them to develop their boards, to develop business plans, financial plans. We help them to develop connections and to learn how to connect and how to give up controls on what they believe they need to have control on in order to allow what they initiate to succeed. Because if you create a not-for-profit, you're creating a new entity, and that entity has to be able to grow on its own.
That is such a big endeavor. How did you even get into this world of the charitable world? Like, because it's a lot to take on.
I'm going to say stupidity to begin with. Lack of knowledge, really. Like I just blindly set out to do something I knew nothing about.
That's so honest. That's so right? Honest. I love it. I love it.
And then I failed. And so I started making some connections with my past, right? Because I divorced myself, because that's what injured veterans tend to do, is we divorce ourselves from our past and our connections, but we really need those. We need to be connected to them. So as I started to reconnect after about 20 years,
20 years, you sort of just walked away.
Yeah, it was not in the best of shape most of that time. So I started seeing the need to connect, because I saw all this personality that used to be me, that was important to me, that I had lost contact with. And as I started reconnecting, with Dr. Alice Aiken, for example. She was my physiotherapist. I worked for her. I was a medic, and she had done things which helped keep me alive, whether she realized it or not. The other doctors I had worked with as well, I reconnected with them. And Dr. Aiken, she was particularly fruitful reconnecting with her, because she saw what we were trying to do, and she said, well, I know a connection for you. And so she connected me with the Princess Trust.
Okay.
Right? And they have an entrepreneur program, right, that you can qualify for as a military veteran, particularly if you've been medically released. So I took an entrepreneur program.
Wow.
And I submit my multiple attempts at a business plan to the entrepreneur in residence, and he sent them black bleeding red ink. And a one-day seminar, and I went to there and resubmitted, and they came back bleeding again. I went to a one-week seminar and I resubmitted, and that one ended up in front of a top analyst for the TD Bank, and they loved the business plan.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like, oh, I learned something.
And how long is this journey, this part of the journey been on?
Well, that was good 5 years. That was from 2011 to about 2016.
Wow. Can I ask you a question now? You said regarding the 20 years where you're, where you were lost or trying to find yourself or trying to figure out what was going on. As a veteran, is there a moment in time where if that veteran, when he leaves the service after a certain amount of time before maybe he starts to go downhill, is there a certain time frame where someone can reach in and they're dying for support, but nobody knocks on their door? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
I understand what you're asking, and the answer is before you're medically released.
Before, wow. So you kind of know what I'm getting
Yeah,
at,
I know
right?
so I've got a hit list of issues that I've been writing about for the past year and a half. Um, and the book is due to come out hopefully within a few months. It needs to be edited yet and set up, but we're exploring that right now. So the bottom line is, when we release medically right now, we're given a prescription for a drug, essentially, or therapy, and we're out the door. They do take the time now, I think, to make sure that your pension is placed, which in my case they didn't. I was waiting for it, and then I had to go, appeal it, get increases. Then they would cancel my pension, and then I'd have to appeal that. And so I had no money. I had already lost my children and my relationships.
Wow.
I had a drug interactions. Actually, I had multiple drug interactions because I was improperly diagnosed. So all of that occurring all at once. So by the time I was released, and I spent the next 6 months in a medical lockup for my own protection and well-being.
So do they tell you as a veteran, okay, you got 3 months left or 6 months left or a year left? Do they say that to
Yeah,
you?
pretty much. So you generally spend at least 2 years or longer on a permanent category, right? And that
Okay.
category outlines all your deficiencies, everything, 100%, right? And essentially, they look at this from a medical and a command perspective and say, this guy, he's got super skills. He's a great soldier. However, he's not going to recover within the next 2 years. We can't deploy him. And even if he does recover, he's never going to be the soldier he once was. So you're going to be
So,
medically
okay.
released, right? But then you have to qualify for your pension and prove that all your injuries are due to what you're being medically released for, even though they already know.
Even though they're the ones that are telling you.
Yeah, yeah, it's insanity,
You got to
total insanity.
so so okay, so let's just say I'll give an example. So a veteran knows he's getting released within the next year. Like, are they kind of like some of the soldiers that kind of messed up before they were like, they don't get messed up after the release. They can still be messed up while they're still in service, no?
You're being released because you are messed up, right? The problem is the release
Okay.
process messes you up even more. So I mean, I was being released because I was walking through the woods in November with ice on the ground through trees on a trench system, right? And the next minute I was back on a path in the desert as I was walking, and all I could think to myself was, I thought I came home. I thought we were finished this, right?
Wow.
And I got to the end of the trench system through all the trees, never hit a single tree, right? And I came to, and it's like, oh shit, I got a problem, right?
Wow. That's these stories, like, this is so riveting, like what you're telling, our, because right now, just to let you know, we're on Facebook and people are commenting about this interview. So it's very important that you're sharing this information. And like I said, like, as myself, I'm not a veteran. I have no connections to the veteran world other than I want to support. So the information that you're sharing is so valuable for our channel, for fellow veterans, for people watching the show, on how we can sort of bridge the gap and get involved, so the soldier who is our hero and has served and sacrificed their life perhaps is going to be taken care of, as he sort of starts to transition. And that's what the channel is all about. We're employment, but we're reaching out with the health sector through you guys, through Myrna, through Aquilitas, through the Cleveland Clinic. So we want to become whole and showcase this all at the Invictus Games. Why don't we take a quick break? All right, we'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about go through the steps if somebody wanted to hear more about your charitable platform, how they could get involved. So is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so on the show today, we have the chair founding member of Veterans House Charity. We have Stefan Beardwood on. Stefan, stay tuned, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk all about your platform and how we can help fellow veterans. Stay tuned. You're watching the Today Show Toronto. I'm Jay Stoyan.
Are you